Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and I've decided to make a deck profile list. Um, Regional qualifier Hartford is a couple weeks away. I'm going to be playing in it. I will not be playing Diana during the main event. I probably want to go after a best of. I'm not sure which legend yet, and I've been getting a lot of flack for that from my friends. Shout out Dave. But I wanted to make this list to talk through what I think about Diana. I'm not the best Diana player in the world, but it's a really fun deck. And, if you want to learn more about Diana, this will be a good video for you. If you want to give me recommendations on how to play Diana, I'd also appreciate that. My deck is somewhat unique. Anybody who knows me knows why, why I include a lot of the cards that I do. But I want to talk through it, and then, maybe we can turn this into a better list, or figure out what legend I should play in Hartford. I have an idea of a couple that I want to play, but I'm not sure yet. But since this is a video for League of Items, we need to play the song.
No, you don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend, he a legend, he a legend. He a legend. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items. Welcome to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league, to the league of items.
Pico money, Pico money, Pico money. We making Pico money. Payday, about to throw a rack on China. Need some DFS advice, where can I find some? League of Items got the sheet with all the lineups and all the stacks that you need to get to diamond. League of Items!
Getting gold, that's the goal. Keep on winning on a roll. Kill for dragons, got soul. Now you got nowhere to go. Teleporting top to bot. Dive your carry on the spot. That's an ace. Wreck your base. Wear my crown. We on top.
It's the league, it's the league, it's the league, it's the league, it's the league of items.
League of Items!
Welcome to the league, to the league, to the
League
league,
of
to the league, to the league of items. Legend, he a legend, he a legend.
Legend, 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 legend,
legend,
legend, legend.
All right, had to do it to him one time. So I have never made this type of video before. Let me just try to fix the camera. This is going to be a little precarious. I'm not sure it's going to stay like that, but it is what it is. So we'll just start off. I played in a skirmish yesterday. Big Bean, aka Dave, won it on a Teemo list. He beat me twice. It felt like a bad matchup, but I looked at some stats online, and maybe I just played it badly, or maybe he just played really well. I'm not 100% sure. But let's get into the deck list. First, obviously, is Diana. That's our legend, an amazing champion in League of Legends. I played a ton of Diana. She's fun in the mid lane. She's fun jungling. There's a lot of fun plays that you can make. I'm not sure if I feel like her playstyle in Riftbound is like a 1-to-1 ratio with how she plays in League, but like Moonfall is an amazing card. We'll talk about that. The chosen champion is the blue Diana. I don't think anybody runs the other one. If they do, that's pretty cool. I'd like to learn why, but they don't. Let's move these around. So that's the legend and champion unit. Obviously, with Diana, during showdowns, you can add 1 energy, which is a little tricky for people to play around. Sometimes they forget completely that you have an extra energy, so you might look tapped out, but then you have 1, and you can play Stupefy, Stack Deck, Gust, something like that. Diana, the champion unit, is actually like incredible. I've been talking about how to fit her into other decks. Like, can you build other decks around her because of the ability? The ability is every time that a showdown starts, you can pay 1 to predict. So to predict, you look at the top card of your deck. If it's a spell, if it's a spell, you can draw it immediately. But if it's, let's say you pull over a unit or a spell that you don't want and you're digging for a specific card, you can put it to the bottom of your deck and then reveal the next one. So you're basically looking at the top 2 cards of your deck, paying 1, which is really cool. It's another reason why I like this deck and why I build it the way that I do. Spoiler alert, you saw the card in the intro. I run 6/6 for the runes. I think everybody does. I'm not really sure. I love the Spirit Blossom runes. I'm trying to build out 6 of every color. I might need 7 or 8 of specific colors if I'm playing them more, but I do 6 and 6. Nothing really controversial to say about that. I'm just going to fan them out. And we'll put those over here. I like the runes a lot. They're fun to play with. Battlefields, these are pretty... 2 of them are really generic. First, Abandoned Hall. Some people don't like playing Abandoned Hall because they think that Aurelia gets more value out of it. I think that if you're building your deck around it, then you're going to be better than every other deck on that battlefield. And then against Aurelia, sure, maybe it doesn't help you, but it's not going to hurt you like a ridiculous amount. Will it win you some game? Will it lose you some games against Aurelia? Maybe. But if that's the case, just don't play it game 1 or game 2, or try to match it when they're playing their Abandoned Hall game, and they'll get less value out of it because they'll just almost certainly win that game if that's your mentality. Next, Targon's Peak. It's a good card. It helps you support like an early Diana. If you play Diana on turn 1 going second, and then you push her into a battlefield and you can untap 2, you'll have 2 or 3 energy to protect her. There's a lot of ways to protect her with this deck. Just a good battlefield in general. And then last, I was running Candlelit Sanctum, and again, it's because of the predict element, the look at the top 2 element fits with my favorite card, which really didn't perform well at all over the weekend. There have been skirmishes where it did great and other ones where it did horribly. Yesterday was a situation where it went horribly wrong. In terms of units, I like thinking about decks like units first, so we're gonna talk about it that way. First up, we have our 2 costs. The best, I guess maybe there isn't a best 2 cost in this deck, but they're all pretty strong in general, depending on how you build it. So first, Ravenbloom Student. I wasn't a believer in Ravenbloom Student in Origins, in like the Kaisa deck that I was playing, but it's a really strong unit, especially if you run the Frigid Jewel package, which I don't. I think I might go back to that if I played more Diana in the future, because of how some of the matchups felt. And like I don't want to take too much out of the skirmish I played yesterday, but I played against a Teemo and an Ornn where the extra might really would have helped me out. Not in the sense that I needed to get over a big unit, but it would have been the difference of like how certain interactions played out. Because if I have Frigid Jewel activated +2, maybe I force them to play a hidden card or a spell out of hand before I have to do an additional, play an additional card. So Ravenbloom +1 every time you play a spell, very good. Amazing on Abandoned Hall, obviously. Next up, Tide Turner. Tide Turner is an awesome card. It's a 2 cost, 2 might. You can hide it, which is cool. It's not as like I didn't find a lot of opportunities to hide it and like swap way around. It was either like I was way ahead, or it was more to like play it to base and bring back my Diana, or bring back Hwei and protect it so I can go in again next turn. Or if you have a unit awaken on a battlefield, you can play Tide Turner to base, flip them, and then attack the other battlefield. Those are all good plays, but just didn't really feel like it performed that way yesterday. It was mostly just protecting my units. Then we have Traveling Merchant. Traveling Merchant's a really good card in general. I think I wouldn't get rid of it. It's better with the Frigid Jewel package, because if you play it on turn 1, turn 2 play a Frigid Jewel, your opponent might not be playing around that. You move Traveling Merchant, discard a card, draw a card, and then my screen just freaked out. I guess it's still recording. You discard a card, draw a card, then you can give +2 might to Traveling Merchant. He should be able to get over most things that your opponent's going to play on turn 1. You're probably looking at 2 or 3 might for the most part. And then even if it was 2 or 3 might, even if it was 2 might, and you're playing against green, for example, they would need to play an On Guard or a Discipline or something. So just play around how much energy they have up, and you should be fine. Those are the 2 costs. I like playing 8 2 costs. It gives you a good chance to hit it for turn 1. I was talking to Dave about this yesterday. I really like having 8 2 costs and having a turn 1 play. I know it's not necessary to win a game, but you just feel so much better, and things like that, like confidence and being able to score a point early, they are like big factors in how you think about your turns as they build up one on another. Because there are certain matchups where if you have 6 2-drops, you miss a turn 1 play, like going into turn 2, you might be 2 points behind already, 3 points behind. which can be very stressful and make you like play worse. Next up, we'll talk about Hui. So we're not going in like cost order necessarily, but it's 5 energy, 1 recycle. When he moves, it's the same thing as Traveling Merchant for the first part, just reversed. So instead of discarding and then drawing, you're drawing and then discarding. So if you have a unit, a spell, and a gear in your hand, you can kind of move, and regardless of what you draw, you know what you're going to do, which gives you different lines. Sometimes you need to consider, like, okay, well, my deck is about 50-50 spells and units. I really need a unit. I don't have one in hand. I'm going to move and take that gamble. Like, that is the right play sometimes. You just have to think about it. Like, you know, if I whiff and I just have a 5 might unit, am I just getting blown out? Do I have a way to save Hui at the battlefield? You know, what else? What other kind of value can I get out of him if I'm taking that calculated risk? But the only time you're going to do that is at like the end of a game where you may not have a better play. So I wouldn't really worry about it too much. But like every time that you get rid of a unit, you go to 8, and like you can move twice. You can play Hui with Ride the Wind, Flash, Tide Turner. There are a lot of ways to move him around, and just a very good card. It's bigger than a lot of the units in the metagame, so you will have to pump him like once, and then you can probably take both battlefields if you have Ride the Wind. Otherwise, you can play the Frigid Jewel package, and again, move, you draw, so you can immediately give the +2, then you discard 1, then you might get up to 10 might. Like, that's a really good turn. So Hui is a very strong card in the metagame. I like it a lot. Sometimes it feels like bad to play if you're behind on tempo, but you're never going to cut Hui from Diana. Like maybe you play 2 instead of 3, but I think I would play 3. And if I'm behind on tempo, it's like, okay, that just it happens. It happens. You can't win every game. Next up, Vex. Vex is more of like a meta card where she's a 4 cost, 4 might, which is good. Then she also has Deflect, which is even better. And then when she's at a battlefield, everything comes in stunned. So if you're like pushing her into a battlefield with a hidden card, and they flip it and it's a unit, it'll be stunned, so it won't deal damage. It'll still get its effect. If you're playing against like an aggro sprite list, they can't accelerate. If you're holding a point and you eliminate all their backline units, and they need to play something from hand, well, you better be playing a spell from hand that destroys Vex and then trying to accelerate in, because you know otherwise they're just going to come in stunned and you won't be able to score. So it's a very annoying card to play against, and it's just very strong. So I run 2, maybe you run 3. I think most people run 2. Then last but not least, we have Fizz. Fizz is a really fun card. I wasn't a big believer in Fizz last set. I was playing Aurelia for a lot of last set, and there was like a Fizz list that was running around where, you know, you can play Fizz, play another stack deck, play a Ride the Wind, those types of things. Play another Discipline, play another On Guard, play another Defiant Dance. So it's obviously a really strong card, but you know, I didn't really appreciate it. But yesterday, it was an amazing card for me. There was a game I was playing against Jim. He was playing Poppy Aurora, and I had a really huge early game lead. Then I lost the board, and Jim was like sitting on both battlefields, and I didn't really have a way back into the game. I had like 2 Fizz, or Fi, as some people say. Shout out Jack, shout out Jim. But the play was like I had to play Fizz, Starcross to Harness Dragon, Ride the Wind Fizz into a battlefield. It was like a Fizz against 2 recruits, so I win that. Then I have to bring Fizz. I play another Fizz, bounce another Harness Dragon, Ride the Wind over. Like it was some play like that, and then I had to play Stupefy. It was into an abandoned hall, so it was 4 might against 3 recruits. My screen just shut off twice. I'm not sure why that's happening, but I think we're fine. But yeah, Fizz is a great card. There are a lot of weird things that you can do. I almost came back in the game in the top cut. I was digging for a line that would allow me to conquer the left battlefield. So I had to play I think Moonfall to bring a Teemo to the other battlefield. That it was left like a Tide Turner, and I think I Falling Cometed Tide Turner. Spoiler alert: Falling Comet was one of my tech cards for the skirmish, and I did that while I was in a showdown, so I had just enough energy to do that. Then I had to swing. I had to hope that the card that got turned over was a 2 might hidden card or a spell, because if it was, then I conquered the other battlefield. I win the game. But it was not. It was a Teemo, and Teemo had 4 might, and that was just enough to win the game. But yeah, those are the types of things you can think through with Fizz. Always reorder your trash to know what spells are available in your trash, and think about the different ways that you can utilize the spells in your trash. Most of the time, it's going to be for like a Moonfall, Ride the Wind, Star-Crossed, but there are ways to utilize the other spells that are in your deck. Next up, these are the core spells. I have some other spells I was going to go over, but these are the core ones. Stack deck, amazing card. Filter through the top 3, pick one, put it into your hand. It's not a draw, which is funny. So like it doesn't work with Frigid Jewel, but just a very good card. Everybody, loves stack deck. And it fits in with the Nocturne. Next up, we have Stupefy. So Stupefy in this deck is very strong because, again, like if you're running the Frigid Jewel package, you get to activate Frigid Jewel. You also can use it when you're otherwise tapped out. So they might push in a 3-might unit into a battlefield, not thinking about the fact that you can react and add an energy, and then you just -1 to them, draw a card. Then you might be digging for something else if you have additional energy. Just a really good card, a good combat trick, and sometimes it's just pay 1, draw a card, which is really strong. Ride the Wind. I play 3 Ride the Wind. Very good card, a lot of fun to play with because you can make weird lines where as long as you have a unit on the battlefield, you can get into both, as long as you have a unit in base, you can get into both battlefields in one turn. It can really swing a game. Just a great card. 2-in-1 Recycle, it's a good Fizz target. Helps a lot with Hwei. Yep, that's about it. Then we have 2 Star-Crossed. I'm playing 2 Star-Crossed with one in the sideboard because you don't necessarily want to see it your first couple turns, and playing 2 copies makes it like less likely to happen. But really good with Fizz in the mid game and late game. It definitely won me a game. So like the combination of Fizz and Star-Crossed won me at least 1 game yesterday, probably 2. There were some games against LeBlanc. I think that it also helped me out a lot. Last but not least, we have Moonfall, Diana's signature spell. You choose a battlefield, then you move a unit. So you do have to. You can move a unit. So there are situations where you play Moonfall, you do not bring a unit to the battlefield because that would allow things like Not So Fast to work, or like if you place there's like the orange spell like Repulse, I think, where it's like if your enemy chooses a friendly unit with a spell and no other friendly unit, then you can counter the spell kind of thing. So sometimes the right play is push in a unit, play Moonfall, gives -2 to everything at that battlefield. So sometimes you have to do it without targeting one of their units, but this is great against things like Karthus because you can have a unit in the base, move into a battlefield, play Moonfall. Even if they have 1 or 2 units there, they're probably 2 or 3 might. Drag in the Karthus, and you can either full trade or conquer a battlefield. It's an amazing card. It's probably one of the strongest cards in the deck. There are certain matchups where you definitely want to run 3, but for the most part, 2 is enough because, again, you don't want to play it turn 2, turn 3 a lot of the time. But then you run into the issue of, like, if you see it in your opening hand, you're almost never going to mulligan it, which, it's still an amazing card. So that's a good problem to have, I guess. These cards are things that are more like meta dependent. They're not necessarily, a core card in Diana, but because of the meta or like niche interactions, you might want to run them. So first up is Gust. Gust, return a unit from a battlefield with 3 might or less to the owner's hand. So sometimes this is just retreat. Like you can play it on any of your 2 costs. You can play it on Diana. You can play it on Fizz. It's more of like a tempo killer for like LeBlanc or something like Teemo. It's good against anything with small units like Master Yi. You don't want them to post up on a battlefield. So if you can find this in turn 1, either going first or second, you always have the ability, even if you're tapped out, when they move into a battlefield, react to the showdown starting or like them moving into the battlefield and gust them. Just a really strong play. Try to win back the tempo in that game. So I was mainboarding this yesterday. I had 3 copies. I thought there were going to be more Victor players and not Renata, LeBlanc players, and like more Master Yi players. So my deck list was more for those types of legends. It ended up being like Aurelia, Teemo, Ornn in the top cut. So my deck really wasn't built with them in mind. Like I think the Aurelia matchup, I'm not well versed in that matchup to begin with, but I'm assuming it's at worst it's 40-60. But I think I'd have ways to win that game because of some of the cards that I have. So next up we have Flash. I was mainboarding Flash, just 1 copy. Just another way to protect your units. Also, if you awaken at a battlefield, Flash, bring Quay back to base, draw, discard, maybe you give him 3 additional might, push him into a battlefield, maybe give him additional 3 might. So you might have like an 11 might Hui if you can help him survive a turn, like through your enemy's turn. Then, my favorite card, Nocturne. Nocturne is just like a funny card. The last skirmish at Highlander, I was playing Nocturne Aurelia, which was really fun, and I saw like Nocturne every time I stack deck, every time I candle it, I was like getting a Nocturne, and I just won a lot of games I probably shouldn't have because it's a high roll type of thing. So this is 2 additional units, but it's also just a fun way to play the game with Diana because you're always looking at the top cards. You can predict, look at 2. I have Candlelit Sanctum, look at 2. I have some spells that have like predict on it, which I'll go over, and then yeah, it was just a fun card. I like playing Nocturne. Next set, I'm probably going to be playing the Baited Hook with Nocturne, the purple yellow that's coming out. We're not sure what legend it's going to be, but I will be playing that. It's going to be a really fun deck to play. One of my tech cards, there were really 5 tech cards that I wanted to try. First up was Falling Comet. It's an action speed spell, 5 cost, deal 6 to a unit at a battlefield. It is expensive, but there are a lot of times where it's going to cost 4 because you're not really paying the 5th energy. Diana's compensating for that, so you move into a battlefield, play Falling Comet, either at the battlefield you're at or target the other battlefield. This was the way that I almost came back in that last game in Top Cut, but I lost. But it was more for like anybody playing with a Vi, anybody playing with a Rengar. If I push into a battlefield and they're trying to ambush, I can just immediately kill that large unit coming in and then conquer. So that was the concept behind it. It didn't function that way for me at all yesterday. So maybe it just doesn't fit the normal play pattern of Diana, but I think there are definitely some niche interactions that it would help me win. I think it's just a good card. Action speed, deal 6 damage is strong. But who knows? Maybe that was troll. Now it's thundering outside. That's great. Next up, we have Eclipse. So Eclipse, reaction speed spell, give a unit -4, and predict. So play this, like if you have 2 up, tap Diana during a showdown, give something -4. That'll help you hold battlefields. It'll also help you attack into battlefields. If you're holding a battlefield, predict, you might find a Nocturne. That could be like a game-winning play. Because if it's on the enemy's turn, play Nocturne. If they have, theoretically a 0 might unit, Nocturne's going to survive the battle. Then wake up on your turn, send it to the other battlefield. You just conquered both battlefield or scored on both battlefields in your turn. Could be a game-winning play. Predict, a lot of the times it's just like a worse smokescreen, I guess, but it's less expensive than smokescreen because you're not recycling. So I don't know. I know that Diwali and Alan ZQ's list both run smokescreen. Definitely a good card, just a little more expensive. The fact that it goes from 2 to 1 with the recycle is interesting. Like maybe that is just a better card, but because I'm running Nocturne, I'm playing Eclipse. So maybe if I swap out Nocturne to something else, change this to Smokescreen, like that's a pretty easy change. Maybe change Falling Star to something else. But like that's how I like making decisions. Is like this package all fits together, and if I was going to swap into another version of the deck, it's pretty clear to see which cards I'd be taking out. Then we have our 2 counter spells. 1, Abandon. Reaction speed, put the spell back into the owner's hand. So if it's a large spell, this is going to be better. If it's a small spell like Defy, Defiant Dance, Punch First, you're not going to get as much value unless it's their last energy. There was an example that Dave played this in the finals. He did it against the Defiant Dance, which generally you don't want to do because they can just pay for it again. But his thinking was, well, if I make them play the Defiant Dance again, it's really a 2 cost to recycle. It'll take away some energy from their next turn, and I think it ended up being the difference, or helping contribute to the difference in the finals. So it's a really good card. It's much better against the larger spells, but even against the small ones, it can be the difference if you're forcing them to recycle or winning a fight that you wouldn't have otherwise. Then you have Hard Bargain, reaction speed. You can repeat it. So basically, you can pay 4 to counter a spell unless they pay whatever you paid. So if I pay 2, they have to pay 2. If I pay 4, they have to pay 4. Just a really good counter spell, and it's easy to use. It's better against the small things like Defy, Punch First, Defiant Dance, Discipline, On Guard. So in the green matchups, that feels really good. And then the last card was Acceptable Losses. So instead of running like a Turn to Dust or something like that, I just went with the Acceptable Losses. I thought it would be good against Aurelia. Like, some of these cards would be good against Aurelia. I didn't play against an Aurelia, but again, Hard Bargain, Falling Comet, I would be able to kill an Aurelia theoretically. Acceptable Losses. All these cards have some play into Aurelia, but it's also good against like Aurora. And I think I used Acceptable Losses against an Aurora in game 2 that helped me win that game. And I think I also used it off of a Fizz trigger. I think I killed like a Vanguard Armory and like a World Altar of Memories. So sometimes you just have to use it to get a little bit of value, kill off some gear so they can't continue to generate more units and value and stuff like that. Next up, this is the sideboard I was playing. 2 Turn to Dust. Everybody's running 2 Turn to Dust basically in their sideboard because of Aurora. It's really good against some other gear, like if it's a high value piece of gear like a Guardian Angel or something like that. But for the most part, you're really playing this in the sideboard for Dazzling Aurora. So those are the first 2 cards. I also have some additional cards that I was like considering putting in my sideboard but didn't. Next up, you have your 3rd copy of Starcrossed and Moonfall. They're just great cards. Some matchups you want more of them. This gives you more of them. Then we have Vex Cheerless. I didn't end up utilizing this card in the skirmish. I don't know which matchups it's the best for. I saw that a lot of the top players were using it, so I wanted to have it in my arsenal just in case. Like, I see how it could be helpful decreasing the cost of any of these spells, but I just didn't feel like it was going to be the difference maker in a lot of my games. So if I was swapping out units, I didn't really go to it. But maybe that was a mistake. I think in the Diana Mirror, it's supposed to be really helpful, but I played against Poppy Aurora, LeBlanc, Teemo, Ornn, and Teemo. So it just didn't really matter for my matchups. Then we had a Singularity. I was watching the mirror match between Alan and Diwali, and they both had 2 Singularities plus Vex like in the sideboard to just have a better matchup if they were to face each other, and they ended up facing each other. That's also part of the reason why I ran Falling Comet, because I think it's half of a Singularity. It's less expensive. You can play it at action speed. So I think there's probably a lot of scenarios where Singularity kills off a game, like because in the mid game you just kill their 2 units, they can't get back in the game, especially if you have like a Vex Apathetic on a battlefield. But otherwise, I think Falling Comet can accomplish a lot of the same stuff. It's just limited to where you can use it. Singularity can target backline. I was gonna play 2 Barons. I didn't have 2 Barons, so I played a Thousand Tail Watcher, just a generic strong card. The -3 is very good. Helps you win some interactions. Has Accelerate, which is also nice. I also played a Time Warp. The Time Warp did not end up saving me, but it gave me lines where like I could draw 1 more card, move units around, and then try to strike into the other battlefield. I wouldn't suggest running this or Thousand Tail Watcher. I would rather run Baron, and I'm going to try the Baron package next, like the next time that I build a Diana list. Other cards I was considering were like Fading Memories. Fading Memories is really strong against Aurelia because you can target a unit or a gear. So when you're comparing this to Turn to Dust, obviously Turn to Dust is less expensive, but this has more utility. So if you want a card that is better into a larger percentage of decks, you're probably better off playing Fading Memories. It's just it's going to cost more, but they're at the same speed and everything, so I think it's a good card worth considering. Some people were definitely already running it. I didn't come up with it myself, but the Aurelia interaction is important. If you target the Aurelia and it has a GA saves it. Aurelia still has temporary. She will still die the following turn. Not the immediate next turn, but the one after that. Next up, this is the other package I was thinking about running. So Frigid Jewel plus Consult the Past plus Traveling Merchant plus Sway. It's a very good combination. It also works with Diana as well, because if you draw from her ability, that counts for Frigid Jewel on your own turn. Consult the Past allows you to trigger it on the enemy turn. There are other cards I was thinking about to do the draw 2 on an enemy turn, like Lunar Boon. I think that would be a cool thing to try to use. But that's it. Those are basically the cards that I used or considered for yesterday. Just running through the matchups quick. Round 1, I played against Jim. He was playing Poppy Aurora. Game 1, he destroyed me. Game 2, I eked it out with that Fizz play. I thought I was dead. I had like a 7-0 lead. He ended up getting on the board, and then just became overwhelming. I probably misplayed at some point during that game by like walking into an Elder Dragon or something, but I salvaged it with Fizz, so that was a great game. Probably one of the more fun games that I've played. I like playing against Jim. Jim's a cool guy, and we both want to win, but we're also aware that it's like an interesting game that just happened. Like it could have went my way, it could have went his way, but the Fizz line won it. Then in game 3, I just kind of blew him out. I didn't. He hit like a bad card off of Aurora. He needed to see like Elder Dragon, I think, to save the game, and I think he hit a Harness Dragon. Or no, I think it was a Rift Herald. He hit a Rift Herald, which like just really screwed him, because he didn't have a way to clear off one of my units on the board. And then I could like Star-Cross the Harness Dragon. I could Star-Cross the Rift Herald or a Harness Dragon or an Elder Dragon. So at that point, the game was kind of decided. Round 2, I played against LeBlanc. I went second. I lost like every die roll, I think, yesterday. Or maybe I won one. I lost it to Jim, I think. I lost it in round 2. In round 3... Well, so I'll just go through the matchup. So against LeBlanc, baited. It wasn't the baited hook LeBlanc version. It was playing very similarly. He had a lot of the same cards. This was Nick. I don't think either one of us played very well in that match. Especially in the first game, there were some like interactions that I did where I could have played it so much better and got more value out of my cards. And the line that I played worked, but I just knew that it was a mistake right after I made the play. It was things like killing off units and then dragging in Karthus. Like I let him draw like 4 cards instead of letting him draw 2. It ended up not hurting me in that game because he must have just whiffed on those cards. But probably a mistake. Just why give him the additional 2 cards? There's no reason to do that. So that was definitely a misplay by me. And then game 2, I like had Gust. It was his Windswept Hillock game, and I just had too many ways to kill off all of his units or bounce them back to hand or gust them. He was top decking, and it just didn't have it. Round 3, that was against Big Bean, aka David, aka the champion from yesterday. He was playing the aggro Sprite Teemo list. It was very interesting to play against. I've played it once or twice. Like I loved that deck list when I saw it from Sydney, the guy that played it or piloted it. I'm not sure who created it. I think the guy actually gave credit to somebody else that created the deck list. But it was really an interesting list. Very fast. You basically just want to play Sprite Fountain or a two drop, push it into a battlefield, start hiding cards, hold on for dear life. And against Dave, I think he 2-0'd me in both both in Swiss and in Top Cut. I think 2 of the games were very close. And 2 of them were not close at all. And I think that's the cool part about a deck like Teemo, where you can just be way too fast for the enemy to deal with it, which is a fun way to play the game. It's like I think it's a very smart way to play the game, and it's an intelligent deck list. And I like decks that kind of not play themselves. There's definitely decisions you have to make, but in the beginning of the game, you know exactly what you're trying to do. Get a card to a battlefield, hide a card, make them run into you, flip over a Teemo, throw like 4 or 5 damage at them if you get lucky, and then maybe find a Nocturne. Dave definitely hit a decent number of Nocturnes against me, which was hilarious because he plays Nocturne, I play Nocturne. I was drawing all of my Nocturnes to hand for the most part, and he was like flipping them at the perfect time during showdowns and like playing them either to a battlefield as a surprise defender or playing them to base. And that's another good thing about Teemo is there's just certain times where you hold a battlefield that you wouldn't have otherwise held because it's almost impossible for your opponent to know which card is hidden. Like maybe if they see your hand, you might have 2 or 3 of them still, so maybe they give themselves a 33 to 66% chance to play around the correct card. But even if they choose the right card, they may not have enough to get over it. So there are a lot of turns that felt like I was kind of just stuck, and I either had to take the risk because I was already behind, and maybe that was the mistake I made. Maybe somebody who's better at Diana would have played those games better than me. But I like to play those aggressive lines. I'm fine losing in that way because at least I feel like I'm giving myself a chance. Because I felt like I was already too far behind. That was round 3. Round 4, I played against an Orin. We went to game 3. He destroyed me in game 1. I beat him pretty convincingly in game 2, and then in game 3 he almost threw the game away. This was Ben. He was playing like a Sprite Orin list. Good player, but he almost psyched himself out and like got onto the wrong line in game 3 because he was afraid that if he charmed away Hui, that I would discard a gear. I would draw a card, discard a gear, which I hadn't shown up until that point. Like I didn't play a gear at all against him, but he was considering it. So he's like, okay, if I charm Hui away, and then he plays discards a gear from hand or draws a gear, discards it, then he has two energy up. Then I could like ride the wind back into a battlefield or gust one of his units away. Like, and he's not wrong. Like, it's definitely something to take into consideration. But I think the game was at a point where if he did not just play that line and deal with the consequences, like then he automatically loses. So he ultimately got onto the right line, charms me away, pushes in with a unit, and wins the game. I snuck into Top Cut. I was the 4th person in Top Cut, and I won on tiebreakers by like 1 game or something like that, where I could have taken a game off of Dave if I could have taken a game off of Dave, or if I win one more game in round 1 or round 3 or round 1 or round 4, then I would have won regardless. But in Top Cut, I play against Dave again, and I already know it's a tough matchup. I'm already somewhat frustrated because it's like, okay, he has a card at a battlefield. I have to walk in and see what the hidden card is and try to like play around it during the showdown. It's like a pretty frustrating thing to play against, which is another good reason to play it. But Dave won. Dave won that matchup convincingly. There was a line I had in the second game that was pretty cool. Like I said before, I could move in a unit to one battlefield, win that combat by moonfalling over the Teemo, which clears up the other battlefield so that I don't have to deal with the Teemo trigger. Then during the showdown, tap Diana, pay the other energy, try to Falling Comet on the Tide Turner that was at the other battlefield. If it was a spell or a small unit, I win. It ended up being Teemo. Teemo's 4 might. I didn't have a way to bump up the might of my unit, so I lost. And then in the finals, it was actually a really great finals. It was Dave playing Teemo against Fats on Irelia. I think it was a pretty straightforward Aurelia list. There, he did play Arena's Greatest, which was surprising. I think he also had sneaky deckhands, so it's not not the most generic Aurelia list, which is kind of a cool thing. I prefer to watch those types of decks. So there were like back-to-back Arena's Greatest games. Dave won game 1 like fast. It was like a 10-minute game, a 13-minute game. He just got a great start. Game 2, he was saying he probably misplayed and should have won Game 2 or gave himself a better chance to win Game 2. But it just got to the point where Aurelia could break both battlefields, and once you break both battlefields against Teemo and he can't hide, he has to fight back into a battlefield. Now he's going to have issues. And then Game 3, kind of the same thing. He just built up a huge lead, but the final turn was actually pretty awesome. So he had one unit at each battlefield. I think he had a Tide Turner at one battlefield with a hidden card, and then he had a Teemo at the other battlefield with a hidden card. So Fats had an Aurelia and a like a 2-mite unit. I think it might have also been a Tide Turner. Or no, it might have been a Lonely Poro. So I think he sends over the Lonely Poro into the Tide Turner, and Dave flips over Switcheroo. So obviously Switcheroo doesn't do anything. They just swap might. It's 2-2. So it breaks. And it was funny because the way that Dave kind of like said it, he's like, "Oh no!" Flips over Switcheroo. It's like, okay, well, I hope the other. When I saw it, when I saw that it was Switcheroo, I thought to myself, either Dave really messed up and should have put Switcheroo at the other battlefield because Teemo was there, or he has two Switcheroos. So then Fats has to push Teemo into push Aurelia into the Teemo battlefield, and he starts pumping the Aurelia. I think that he used like an on guard. Aurelia goes to 7, but Dave does the Teemo trigger. That's going to resolve first. Obviously, he can't do 7 damage, but maybe he can get lucky and hit like 4 or 5 damage. If he hits 4 or 5 damage, maybe there's something underneath the like the hidden card can give him a couple of might. Maybe it's a unit, and maybe he trades and wins the game. Ends up being another Switcheroo. So we had 2 Switcheroos, which was crazy, like pretty fortunate. There were other ways that he could have won. Like there were other hidden card combinations that would have also won the game. So he was already definitely in a good spot. But the fact that it was Switcheroo, the way that it resolves apparently is that if you react with the Switcheroo and Aurelia is holding 4 damage and has 2 might, well, you immediately die. There's no way to react to that. Like if he had a Zanya's Hourglass sitting at the in base, then yeah, that would have saved the Aurelia. Maybe he can swing back in again. But that was the game, and it was just, a lot of fun to watch. We were all very excited for Dave. He got the Rengar champion, which is cool. He got the playmat, which is cool. Got a bunch of packs. Apparently the packs were not the best, but still was cool to watch Dave win. We were giving him a lot of garbage because he's not playing in the main event, but he used to play Teemo, gets back onto Teemo. That was weird. Okay. Anyways, I want to stop recording this video because I'm not sure if it's gonna like just crap out. I heard a sound in my kitchen, and I thought that my computer just like went berserk, but maybe it just went on sleep mode. But yeah, so that's the deck list. That's how the skirmish went. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll probably post another video about other decks that I've played similar to this. The camera quality doesn't look the best. Maybe I can make that a little bit better next time. But it's really more about the talking through it. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, or if you want to make a similar video that I'll post on my channel, like I'll do 5 to 10 minute deck profiles for other people as well. Like we can record together and I'll post it to my channel, just so you can get your name out there, something like that. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.